Hi, Eric Lanask here with TMC, coming to you from Cloud Expo in New York. Mark, thanks for joining me. It's been a really exciting couple of days here. What is driving all the excitement here at Cloud Expo?
Well, it's the new wave of computing. We all want to do and make better things with our computing stuff and our machines, and create new data storage and handle that data, and handle these new pieces of information we gather from everywhere in a more efficient way. I think there's a lot of things about IT, efficiency of IT. The cloud helps a lot of people focus on what they're doing and not on managing infrastructure. So all of this is basically helping everybody, like I said, focus on getting the things done, and not like focusing on like repairing disks or adding more machines in the racks and all that stuff. The cloud really helps like easing the way to focusing on what you want to do, not other things on the side. And it's been really exciting. I mean, the last 4 days here, we've seen a lot of interest for the cloud, of course, but also for storage outside of the cloud, inside the cloud, private cloud, or hybrid cloud. It's been a really interesting couple of years, actually. And I think this show is a very interesting show in the space. You see all the major vendors are here, and it's always great to always see those guys again, because we do other shows and experience and have great conversations with the attendees.
Good. So one of the big topics, of course, is big data, and I think some of the topics that you just mentioned are very relevant in the big data space. What's the big challenge around big data right now?
Well, one of the challenges is defining big data. Big data is a pretty wild animal. It's been used extensively for many things. There's analytics. There's just big data in terms of large data sets. How do you store petabytes and petabytes of data? So it's each of these areas has their own problems and issues to solve, and it's very exciting. There's a lot of things to do about that. I think analytics is probably one of the biggest consensus about big data. When people talk about big data, they talk analytics. How do we make sense of all these data that we're creating right now?
How does storage relate to analytics?
So storage doesn't really directly relate to analytics, but analytics creates a lot of storage. So you need to be able to store all the analytics, the data that you create and that you gather from people or from machines, from iPhones, RFID sensors, CDRs, all that stuff, all that unstructured data that is growing and growing and growing. You need to store it somewhere, and then you have the analytics part, the Hadoop, MapReduce, all that stuff that is creating or processing that data and creating even more data. So you need to store that somewhere, and then a lot of like for example, the seismic guys, they store a lot of data about the seismic activity, and what they do is like regularly they process another batch of data, but they have to get that data back, process it, create new data, store it, and then maybe 2 days later or 3 days later, if something happens, they have to get that data back and process it again, create more data. So the challenge is really how do you manage that growth? Unstructured data is growing 50% year over year, and everything we create today is 80% of it is unstructured data. Unstructured data is, just to make clear, it's everything that is not contained in a structured environment. So it's not a database. It's not a database is really the best example of that. But everything that is self-contained in one file, that's unstructured data. That's 80% of everything we create. It's huge. It's phenomenal.
So how is this incredible growth of unstructured data changing what Scality is doing?
So we come in play here to help people manage that growth. The legacy storage systems, basically, they were made for unstructured data, and what we've been trying to do in the last 10 years is try to store unstructured data in a structured data storage systems. So it doesn't work. It worked for some time, doesn't work anymore. Now we need to have a storage system that basically is very scalable, very easy to manage, very easy to grow, that can basically follow the growth of unstructured data in a very, very simple way without having to migrate data every 2, 3, 4 years for technology refresh, without having to worry about disks failing, because that's a fact, they're failing, like hard drives are failing. So all of this is what we do. We manage the drives and disks and the machines in a very efficient way for the service providers, for the telcos, for the seismic guys, oil and gas, all these people who are storing all this data. They need something that is cost efficient and just efficient. Efficient storage is what we're doing for unstructured data at scale.
So really, you could say that it's in a way providing a little bit of structure to the unstructured data.
That is true. It's basically providing structure for the infrastructure, like helping them manage it in a very efficient way, and that comes with structure efficient. But we don't structure the data. It's we have the infrastructure around the data, but it's still unstructured. Yeah, but it's a good way to put it.
How well do service providers and other big data creators, if you will, understand that they need to manage their infrastructure better?
They more and more. It's been so there's two worlds. The service providers, telcos, they've seen that, they've understood that in like 7-10 years ago. Especially the large guys. One of their main problems 10 years ago was email. So one of our bigger market is email providers, telcos who have a lot of email, so millions of users. Email is unstructured data, and when Gmail and Yahoo and all these guys came up with free 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes, 5 gigabytes email account, they had to come up with a plan to go after them, because otherwise their customers would just go away. And that's where we came into play, and we developed this technology actually originally for email. So these guys they understood that SAN and NAS were not the answer to email sprawl. And then now enterprises are seeing it. Analysts are actually saying that object storage is the future of storage for enterprises. People at Forrester, IDC are saying that. It's been a long path for object storage to become hype. And that's like 2-3 years ago, it was a bad reputation, clunky, bad performance. Nothing you would want to deploy yourself. And now it's the answer to unstructured data. It's the only answer.
Mark, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Eric Linask coming to you from the Javits Center in New York. Follow these videos and more on Twitter @eLinask.